Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Pick It and Flick It podcast, a.k.a. Halloween Extravaganza 3 2022 Absolute Bonanza. I'm Luke.
I'm Natasha.
I'm Vox.
And we're back.
No, hold on.
No?
You're back.
That's right.
What's up, bitch?
I have
Who
somehow...
are you?
I've been...
Welcome to the show.
My own podcast has been usurped from me. So if you're coming here for this obnoxious voice, as I voice crack in the middle of saying
See?
you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, you're not here for the right people anymore.
Here we are for my first
Your first pick.
contribution to this absolute disaster. And I decided that we should, delve more into my forte, if you will, which is 80s slashers that nobody really cares about anymore. And
Anymore?
Yeah.
I would argue that no one cared about this to begin with.
Sure. The argument can be made, but
What do we watch, baby?
these are near and dear to my heart, and we watched 1983's Sleepaway Camp.
I actually think I put this on my watch list because a few years ago you had mentioned it. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to see
Yeah.
that. And then it's been on my watch list, and we've never watched it because it's never been on anything.
Sure, yeah. See, first of all, the early 1980s was an absolute goldmine for cheap, low-budget horror slasher movies that would be pumped out almost weekly. Because if you don't know, back in the day, an easy way to break into Hollywood as an up-and-coming hungry director was to just make a cheap little slasher movie. And
Thanks, Halloween.
Sure. Halloween, Friday the 13th. And there was just such a boom of low-budget, teens going, having sex, and then some wacky killer with a gimmick will cut them all up, and that's your movie. And then before you know it, you're directing Oscar movies. And that's just how it was. And...
Well, it's kind of funny that you say that they go have sex because there wasn't really any...
Well, yeah, this is a unique case because this is actual like middle school aged kids for the most part. And
Any of the sex scenes, and I put air quotes around that, were rapey.
yeah,
I was very
or
uncomfortable.
small child pornography hints.
Well, see, this movie, if you didn't know, if you're not good at math, this movie predates the first Nightmare on Elm Street. So
Yes.
this is classic cinema right here. When's the Criterion Collection? That's what I'm wondering. But
So there's, 5 of these?
I think there's 3.
No, there's not.
Is there more?
There's 5.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
I know there's Sleepaway Camp 2, Teenage Wasteland.
And then 3.
And then 3, which is
and then
something.
And there's 4, which is Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Yep.
then there's 5, which I think is just called Sleepaway Camp 5 or something like that.
Probably just called
And
Sleepaway
then there's
Camp.
one that's just called Judy, right?
Oh yeah, and then there's just Judy. Hang on. Now I want keep talking.
Now we have
but
to continue.
keep
But,
talking. Yeah.
This movie is a very unique case for a lot of these movies where it has a very DIY charm to it. It just seems like everyone had such a great time making it, which always enhances the movie for me, especially when it's a goofy horror movie like this where there's a lot going on, and I'm sure we'll get into all of the wonderful finale things. But if you know about this movie, chances are all you know about it is the ending and the big twist.
Well, you know what's
See,
funny?
I didn't even know
And-
anything, which I'm glad.
I should have predicted the twist, but the only thing that I knew about this movie is the "eat shit and die" reference, where he says "eat shit and die," and then the guy comes back and says "eat shit and live," and I'm
I
Yes.
liked that.
Yeah.
Which is-
I don't know why. I loved the dialogue.
the dialogue of this
Dialogue.
movie.
I almost said dialect. Whoops. The dialogue in this movie is A+.
And it's funny you say that because I wrote down in my notes that this movie should have been an Oscar contender for adapted screenplay because the dialogue in this movie is so funny and it literally felt like a high school cafeteria wrote this movie, if that makes sense.
my first note.
And it had to take place in New England because of their accents. It had to be Boston.
Yeah.
Like Massachusetts.
Which I've always said,
anywhere
they're
up
my
there.
people.
Yeah.
I may not have been born there, but I think that's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, definitely.
This
You're total Bostonian or whatever. they're
my first note was the acting and dialogue is fucking unbelievably
Oh my
terrible.
God.
Oh, no. I don't agree at all.
Hang on, before we go too far, I want to do the sequels. Ready?
Sure.
Sleepaway Camp 2 is Unhappy Campers.
3 is...
3 is Teenage Wasteland.
Gotcha.
4 is called The Survivor, which is the only film in all 5 that features flashbacks to the original, because all the original characters are credited in that movie.
I think that was a Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 situation where half of it was new and then half of it was just flashbacks,
and
which
it's
is
only a whopping 70 minutes long.
And so what would happen a lot of the times, again, alongside the slasher movie mentality of let's get this fucker out before the end of the weekend. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which also has 5 movies, had a similar case where the second movie, they wanted to do a sequel, but they only had X amount of money, so they shot 40-ish minutes of movie, and then to push that baby over feature length so it could be contended for Oscars, of course.
Yeah, sure.
You literally just use the footage from the first movie and go from there. So I'm assuming, I haven't seen any of the Sleepaway Camp sequels, aside from maybe the second one a long time ago, but I'm assuming that's the same situation.
And then number 5 is just called Return to Sleepaway Camp, and that came out in 2008.
Oh boy, they're still
so
not too long.
Only about a decade or so ago.
This is one of those unique cases where we don't have a remake, which for a horror movie, especially a big property like this, and big properties in quotes, that's pretty interesting.
Because this would be, I feel like this would be easy to remake.
It'd be easy to remake, however,
especially right now.
Yeah, this movie is, barely 90 minutes long. So
it's quick.
But here's the thing, though. If they remade movies like this, would it be even like a theatrical release?
It'd be 2.5 hours.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a theatrical release. Most likely, they'd throw it on like fucking Netflix or some streaming service, or a Shudder original, sure, and go from there. But
so I'm convinced that this movie took place, that it was filmed in Mecosta, Michigan. Because over the summer last year, we got a cabin out there, and there was an abandoned, maybe it wasn't abandoned.
Like summer camp?
Yeah, just, it was in the middle of the lake.
Yeah,
and it looked did it not look, it was smaller, but the cabins and everything looked just like the cabins in Sleepaway Camp.
Was very similar, yeah.
And
for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
This movie... Where do I start with this? This movie, it started very bad for me.
Before we forget, because we almost said it, and then I think we got off on another thing.
Oh, sure.
Neither of you have seen this movie.
No.
This is right up there with the Bible in terms of my knowledge on the matter.
Oh, wow.
Meaning it's very well known in my brain.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know the Bible, but I know Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, right.
That's
and I'm vice versa.
That was the joke there. But I asked the first thing I asked, because, like I said, all people know about this movie is the twist.
Yeah.
Is what happened there?
Yeah, right.
And so the immediate first thing I asked Vox was, yeah, exactly. She's making the Felissa
the
Rose
face.
The face
Sure.
at the end.
Which, if you look, Felissa Rose, the woman who plays Angela, at every convention, every photo you see of her, she's making the face.
Is that right?
It's awful.
All right, so for the thumbnail, you have to take my face, face, and put it on the...
That'll be the face reveal. But the first thing I asked you was, what do you know about this movie? Because that'll gauge what I continue to say from this moment on. And you said, I know nothing. And so I said, great. Don't look at IMDb. Don't look at Letterboxd. Don't even Google this movie.
Yep.
Because I guarantee you, if you Google image search this movie right now, the first, asshole YouTube thumbnail was, Angela's a dude?
Yeah.
With like the arrow and the circle and whatever.
Yeah, and a small little pee-pee.
And so this was a very unique opportunity for me to have you guys,
Yeah, and I didn't.
Sure.
And one thing that we've been doing, too, just to add on top of that, if you haven't listened to the first 2, Pick It and Flick It, make sure that you go back and do that, and then subscribe. There's my...
and like and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Pornhub, and MySpace.
And OnlyFans.
Sure.
That's just there's my cash grab, make sure you do things that we want you to do thing. We haven't been telling each other if we pick it or flick it, and we haven't been telling each other our scores.
Gotcha.
So not only did we not know the outcome of this movie, we don't know what we rated this movie.
Sure.
And I don't know what you rated this movie either, because
it's going to be shockingly high.
Yeah,
for
I'm
you.
sure, and that's why I was like, I bet this isn't going to be good.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to keep it as honest as that. To go back onto track of this fucking train wreck, yikesers all over the board for me, man. Like, this thing had, and this is what I'll give it this. It had a cool premise. Mm-hmm. Like, the storyline, okay. The intro, I was like, what the fuck is going on? The fact that they had, like, a gay couple in the 80s was kind of alluding to a little bit of progressiveness for the people that were writing, and being able to understand that the world is changing. And on top of that, the twist at the end, even again, we've seen that how many times in the past, 20 years. So I think that this is like the stepping stone for a lot of cool things that happened in horror later on. However, goddamn was the acting terrible. Goddamn was the directing terrible.
The sound was bad.
just so fucking bad.
You could tell. I mean,
I'm on the opposite side.
So I could just, like, in the beginning of the movie, when they were in the boat and they were talking, you could not hear what the fuck they were saying.
Yeah.
Because the motor's like, meh,
yeah,
and it's so loud compared to them.
Well, the same thing when the kids are arriving at camp, and a couple minutes later, and the counselors are like yelling at people. It's just over-modulated fucking noise that goes on for fucking 4.5 minutes. And I'm like, what? And we paused it, and I was like, this is the shit that I fucking hate about 80s movies, especially B-80s movies, because they had no sense of audio direction. Like, we have Scarface that came out in the same year as this movie, and there are more guns being shot in a single scene in that movie than we have ever seen in another movie, and you can hear all of the dialogue perfectly.
Ever seen ever.
There's just so much going on.
Well, let me tell you, the movie starts with a dedication to the director's dead mother. Okay, okay. That was my first note. I forgot, and I wrote "dedicated to mom?" ? Because I completely forgot that happens.
Why would you dedicate this
I don't
to
know.
your mom?
Well, because it says dedicated to mom, she was a doer. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
What did she do?
I don't know what character the mom was based on. But
Yikes.
my next note was the score is phenomenally over the top, which I love. It's so like
yeah,
right from the go.
It's very full of tubas.
But here's the thing. All great movies start with vicious vehicular child murder. And that's just how it is.
Well, and then the fucking bitch who was skiing when she finally is, all of a sudden, she's, mind you, going 50 miles an hour on the water, and then all of a sudden she's just not moving and in the water and just screaming for 3 minutes straight. Somebody help them, please, they're gonna die. Somebody help them.
Clearly, you've never been around children. That's just all the noises they make.
Yeah, I try to stay away from children.
Ungodly annoying.
She's not
and
a
repetitive.
child, though. She's like a teenager.
Well, she was a camper, so
fucking Joe Manganiello was like 85 when he was Flash in the first Spider-Man. I'll wave my hand at whatever age they're supposed to be.
You're right. That's fine. But also stop it, because it was just so bad.
Can we talk about Aunt Martha for a moment?
Yeah.
Arguably the greatest character in cinema.
Oh, gosh.
Well, there's two things I want to talk about that. We're going to jump way to the end because Tash pointed this out, and then we'll also talk about her in the beginning. In the very end, this has nothing to do with the spoiler in it, but why could we see her fucking breath in the end scene?
Like, it was
so
30
cold
degrees
on that set. We could see her breath while she spoke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's that all about?
I don't know.
What like
must have been like they did for the Thing and The Hateful Eight. They turned that set temperature down. I don't know.
Yeah, that was weird. But also,
I thought it was cool that they made, like, she was, like, very vibrant. Like, everything else in the movie, the colors felt very dull. But the ant was just, like, in your face, like, bright red, bright blue.
Colorful in appearance, but also inflection.
I would say and psychotic.
Because I wrote, whatever Aunt Martha is on, hardcore.
Yeah, she's doing some strange-ass drugs.
And then I wrote Save Martha, which is Batman vs. Superman.
Oh, yeah.
Bit.
Martha.
Martha's his mother's name. Oh, God.
So with the ant, the other thing that I noticed is that she is a fucking robot, but also
that must be revealed in a sequel.
Yeah,
as she was the Terminator. All along.
But I think that really went well with the twist, because anyone who talks like that on a regular basis,
something's wrong.
Does have issues.
Something's wrong.
There's fucking problems.
You know, this movie works for me because it's just realistic enough while also being completely insanely nonsensical. Because my next note was creepy cooks aren't cash money.
No.
And that leads us directly into, also, before we get to that, there's one actor in this movie that I asked if you would have recognized. Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
The older black gentleman who works at the camp.
Oh, I know this.
You know who this is?
James Earl Jones' brother.
That's his father.
Oh, it's his father.
James Earl Jones' father.
Wow.
Darth Vader and Mufasa's father.
Yeah.
is alongside in this absolute fucking
nightmare,
goofy ass movie.
Do you remember I pointed that out?
Yeah.
I was like, his last name is Jones. I'm
Yep.
like,
it's James Earl Jones' father.
I'm like,
That's
I
cool.
wonder if it's James Earl Jones. Well, I thought it was his brother or something. But
But alongside the rest of the staff of this camp is a man named Artie who looks just as child molestery as you would imagine, and immediately tries forcing himself on this young woman who is shy and whatever. And something I noticed on this most recent rewatch was one of the counselors who also, can we take a moment to appreciate the delightfully, horrifically short male shorts
I have that
movie?
in here. I said short shorts on men, and then I put a winky face.
It's so funny.
Love short shorts
It's just
on
like-
men.
it's-
like when you've got the nice tight butt, like does it all for me.
I don't like it because I'm into it. I just think it's hilarious because the first couple Friday the 13th movies have that. It was such like a specific like fad almost.
It's
Like
a
I wonder
timepiece.
if they actually dressed like that in the 80s.
Well, yeah, because we're all 12, so we don't know. But
They absolutely
it's
did.
like that in Freddy's Revenge and like I said, the first couple Friday movies. So whether that was intentional or not is very funny. But what I found weird was the one counselor, I think his name's Ronnie.
red
He almost-
shorts guy.
Yeah, I can't tell if he was like completely oblivious or was almost like feeding this young girl to the cook, which kind of because I remember liking that guy.
He's
and
like,
now
get
I'm
her some ice cream.
Yeah, and I'm like, is that a euphemism? I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, yuck.
Well, I thought it was funny, and maybe it doesn't matter at all. But after her cousin Ricky, right,
Yeah.
comes to like save her, the cook gets mad and he punches a box, and the box says Tubby. And I thought that was funny because he was Tubby. I don't think that had anything to do with anything.
yeah.
But I just was like, that's funny if it actually does.
Well, Ricky's the MVP of this movie. Homeboy is just trying his hardest the whole time. And there's even the delightful red herring later in the film where we see it's clearly him.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this movie was meant to ever be seen beyond a VHS copy. So it was obviously him, but it's not him.
Yeah,
So
right. In the beginning, speaking of Tubby, in the beginning of the movie when they're watching when they're watching all the campers run in and Tubby's like chewing on a piece of God knows what.
Yeah.
He's like, they're not just too young, you're just too old. These are delicious looking little females. I'd like to stick my wiener in their butthole.
He did not say any of this.
I mean,
but-
it was pretty close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was going. I thought it was going to be more of a cannibalistic kind of thing.
Oh.
Where the movie, because he's the cook, and
Right.
he was talking about how delicious they look. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow, is this going to be like a cannibal-esque movie? Like that's going to be an interesting.
No, he's a dick who gets.
Yeah, he's just a pedophile.
He's the
Got it.
inciting murder, if you will. Well, aside from the opening scene, of course, but once we're at the camp, Artie gets a great visual effect where he gets a giant pot of boiling.
biggest pot of water I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And also the second most obnoxious yelling in the movie.
Oh yeah, that was too much.
I don't know. I've never had that situation happen to me where I get a boiling pot dumped on me, but I'm going to guess I wasn't singing show tunes when it happened.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you'd probably just pass out.
Maybe. But this was the 80s, you know? He was probably on a bunch of drugs.
Yeah, but that also was a 2-minute scene of him. Just,
And then the doctor like didn't know shit.
doctor's like, he's probably in a lot of pain. I don't have any kind of things to help his pain.
Which, it was the 80s, so that's clearly a lie. Or
Yeah,
the
you got
doctor did them
coke,
all
just
on the way
shove
over.
it in his mouth.
But my next note was, of course, the line you already said was, eat shit and live, Bill. Incredible.
Like that
Yeah,
one.
I
did
love it.
really. I have that one on here too.
The note that I have before the baseball game and for the baseball game note real quick was way too fucking long.
Yeah. What?
Yep.
Why?
I said best male sports scene right up there with Top Gun.
Yikesers. And but on the kill for boiling, I really like the first person aspect.
Yeah.
Where it goes first person view for all of the things of murder.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good.
It's like if the opening scene of Halloween was most of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, which is great. I really enjoyed that.
I also wrote Angela was the original Gen Zer,
Which one is Angela?
the main.
Oh yeah, I always get her and
Judy?
Judy.
mixed up. Got it.
Which, I mean, jumping ahead just a moment, another line was one that I said just yesterday. It may be my favorite piece of literature.
Plug your
of all
ears
time.
if you're offended.
She's a real carpenter's dream, flat as a board, and in need of a good screw. Outstanding.
And we're talking about 12-year-olds.
Well, it's a teen talking about another teen, so I'll give it. It's not.
Yeah, but Judy's 30, so
Sure, but goddamn, if that's not a great burn, a great bit of literary genius, but also the performance is just so fucking awesome. And that's how I describe everyone in this movie. They're hamming it up to the 11th degree, but it's so funny, and that's why I love it.
Here's the thing that I don't like.
Okay.
And this is on the Judy topic.
Okay.
With the teens. There are like small child pornography things in here. Like when a little boy's ass is out when
That's not
I don't
child
care.
pornography.
I don't care. It's still there and it's weird. And there's so much gay stuff in this movie. Like there's so much, and I'm not talking about the gay adults where they actually appropriate the fact
That's
that
right.
there are
Yeah.
Two homosexual people that are raising children. This is like gay stuff where it's homophobic as fuck. Where they're like, "Oh, are you looking at my ass, you fucking faggot?" But we're gonna go fucking swimming in a river or a lake together.
Let me ask you this: you're telling me when you were a teenager, nobody in that same age bracket was talking like that?
No, they talked to that to me, and that's why I'm offended by it.
Oh, because
I'm clearly gay.
Is this
Yeah.
bringing up trauma?
Yeah, it is actually, and that's the thing that pisses me off. Because it's just like they are purposely trying to make these kids look bad, but they're the main characters.
But this isn't 2022
You're
Sleepaway
right.
Camp. This is 1983.
You're not wrong. It's just
You got to realize this is how they spoke. Okay, nobody was being real PC yet.
You're talking
Fox
to the
is
guy.
like, everyone's offended by everything, but I'm offended by
But I'm
this.
offended by teenagers
we don't
calling
need to
each
get
other gay.
we don't need to get political, but you're
I'm
talking
not-
to the
who
you're
got
ta-
political? I don't know
talking-
nothing about it.
Wait, what?
You're getting political.
How am I getting political?
By everything, everyone's offended by everything, and now I'm gonna get offended. That's a fucking political comment. So my problem with it is that it just didn't age well. There's a lot of movies that age gorgeously.
But you know what did age well
throughout
in
the
this movie?
fucking,
Was Judy's death
Judy.
scene. One of the greatest kills.
Does Judy actually die though?
Well, I would say so.
We don't know.
I don't have a curling iron or a vagina, but I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that if I had a burning
might
hot
have one.
curling iron shoved up my cunt, I'm not walking away too excited about it.
Yeah, this is going to be a down. I said the F word a couple minutes ago. He just said the C word. This is going to be our low-rated movie.
That's okay.
Movie review video.
I just don't understand how a movie this awesome
Ugh.
is so hated by you.
It's just not good. It's just not a good movie.
I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but man, is it entertaining.
We're going to have...
I enjoyed it.
I think we're going to have one good special effect in here, too. Like, that's another argument we can have. And the boiling skin was the only good special effect.
Oh, I
would
liked
disagree.
when the kid died in the lake and the snake came out of his mouth.
That's what I said.
And his eyes looked cool. I don't know. I think the practical effects in this movie were good.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think they were terrible.
No, especially on an 80s slasher movie effects curve, it's definitely towards the top. I'd even say this is probably better than some of the Friday the 13th movies.
Well, that's, if we're going to be honest, not hard to beat.
Untrue. Tom Savini would be rolling in the bed he sleeps in at night because he's not dead.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the Friday the 13th movies, man. So for you to say that, it's
You're
like,
gonna
okay.
get so much death mail, death hate. What the fuck?
Hate mail?
Hate mail.
Hate
I
mail?
couldn't even think of
Or
the word.
Death threats?
Death threats and hate mail.
Death hate?
It was
Ooh,
a
I
portmanteau.
like that.
Death
That sounds
hate.
like a death metal band.
You're welcome. That one's
Yeah.
on the house, boys.
All right, there we go.
But
the bee hive kill
is great.
not good at all.
Well, it
First
doesn't
of
make
all,
sense because he could just slide right under the.
Yeah, and that, like, is he allergic to bees? Is that why he died?
Well, I don't think.
And I thought that the fucking door was going to break before the little piece of wood broke.
Yeah, and we're talking about a guy who is the big bully in
Mm-hmm.
the fucking thing, and like he's such a tough guy, and then all of a sudden, well, first of all, they stuck a wasp's nest in there, and then honeybees were all over him, so it didn't make much sense.
I
There
know.
was definitely
Instant 1 out of 10.
There was
'cause they were
definitely
the
one
wrong
point
bees.
Yeah.
where it looked like a raspberry.
It was a raspberry.
that was on his arm instead of a bite.
like a
That's
hive.
what it looks like.
No, it don't. I've been stung like 35 times in the face before,
You
and it
know-
don't look like nothing like that.
I'll give it a pass because.
Well, that's okay.
I think they say like 90 to 100 bee stings will kill you, and I didn't count heads on how many bees were in the fucking hive.
Yeah, the big thing though is
There
those.
were a lot of bees.
Well, there were honeybees, and they don't sting unless they are aggravated.
Which they were. He was holding the nest and
That's what I'm saying.
swinging it around. They
you
were
think
definitely
shaking around the
agitated.
nest and then throwing it in there? I don't think they're going to be all hunky
impossible
dory.
because honeybees don't make nests like that. They make combs. So
All right, Luke and I will take over the rest
That's what
of
I'm
this
saying. I didn't
episode.
realize we had a
don't
fucking
need you.
bee expert. I'm giving this movie a 1 out of 10 because the bees weren't accurate. No matter the fucking.
But we didn't mention the fact before he goes to the bathroom, he says, "All right, I'll meet you there. I got to take a wicked dump." I thought that was fucking
Exquisite.
hilarious.
or massive
Exquisite.
dump.
No, wicked dump.
A wicked dump.
Yeah,
But before we,
I have it in here.
since we're starting to lose steam here pretty quick,
Not me.
I say we dive into the ending and discuss that a little bit because first thing I wrote was an Ace Ventura bit where I said Einhorn was a man, but by golly, this movie has such a shocking twist that if
Arguably the only good part about it.
that it's definitely earned its reputation as a very out there ending in terms of, this is a pretty standard just slasher teenage camp, angsty adventure and whatever, and then out of nowhere it does a complete 180 and it turns out Angela has been Peter this whole time and has been forced into being a different gender by the crazy Munchausen aunt, which, say what you will about that whole situation. It's very prevalent in today's culture.
Well, that's why I mentioned, this was groundbreaking and inspiration for a lot of the things that come in horror later on.
It was done fairly tastefully,
No,
I would
it
say.
was really good.
It wasn't point and laugh at the weird, different person. It was more, holy shit.
Yeah.
Everything we thought we knew was wrong this whole time.
Yeah. And the second, right before the reveal happens, I was like, oh, fuck, I know it's going to happen. And I had Tosh pause it, and I was like, that isn't the sister that survived the boat.
Yeah.
That's the brother.
And it...
Because we knew one of the kids died.
Sure, and it's all established. It's all set up. It's
Yeah.
not, holy shit, we're in the 11th hour, so we're going to throw a Hail Mary transgender reveal.
Not at all.
It's not.
So when they were sitting in the scene where it's all black and they're sitting on the bed and there's a little boy and a little girl, is the little boy the cousin or is that the brother? And that's her, or that's Angela. When
Angela was killed on the boat.
Yeah.
Right, but
And so Peter...
is it Peter and Angela on the bed, or is it Angela and Ricky?
No, it was Peter and Angela on the bed.
Okay, so
it was kind of...
It was a flashback thing.
Reveal, almost, yeah.
And it's it was him seeing a female and remembering that he was a male. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took it, at least. Yeah. And that's when he freaks out.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And that's when we get the most iconic face that we've already mentioned. But boy golly, if you want to know...
her actual face, or was that a puppet? Because Tosh was like, that can't be her, because it kind of freaked you out a little.
Yeah, it didn't look right.
So, like I said, I know quite a bit about this movie.
Yeah, you're the historian.
And boy, is it as crazy as you think. So again, this was the early 80s, we're not... This was a very guerrilla film for the most part, and the original concepted idea was an underage Felissa Rose was going to wear a dildo, and that was going to be the big, oh my goodness. And thankfully... Mrs. Rose's parents went, yeah, no, we're not letting that happen.
Yeah.
And so what happened was they made a mold and a mask of her face, which is very common practice for these type of films. And then there was a young actor who agreed to hang dong for this
situation.
Told
you there is fucking child pornography.
No, he had to be over.
He's an adult. Whoa.
Saying.
Just saying. I just don't think that they would just show a fucking child's penis.
I'm just saying.
So this is definitely not getting monetized, even if we can do that. I don't know.
We're never going to get monetized.
But an of legal age, an adult man.
That's still crazy to me, though.
Sure, but here's the thing. When it came time to shoot, he wasn't too excited to do it anymore, as you would expect. So they got a couple beers in them, they shot the scene, and then they have never revealed who that is to this day. He has never come out publicly, and I'm very thankful that he gets the anonymity he wanted, because do you really want that be because horror movie fans are crazy, they will.
Yeah.
I'm
we
trying
just
to think.
argued about bee stings for
Donald
fucking 5 minutes.
Pleasance was a multi-decade established, like, respected actor, and I guarantee every horror fan will live and breathe that he was, Sam Loomis more than anything else.
Yeah, sure.
So the fact that this guy was able to do this very shocking situation on film and be able to not be pointing and that's the guy who, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm glad that happened.
Yeah,
and
he was the one that had his wiener out on film.
Sure.
It's crazy that it's 40 years later almost.
And we're still talking about it. And we probably will be for the next 150 years.
Yeah, interesting.
But
cool.
Interesting.
On that very odd note, to go hand in hand with this very odd movie, Vox,
Oh, boy.
explain to the kids at
Always
home
me.
what we do around here to rate these bad boys.
I'm going to say this specifically now
Okay.
because this is important for this movie.
Oh boy, this gets an
Okay.
exclusive.
Pick It and Flick It has 2 rating methods. Number 1, we pick it, meaning that we like it, that it should be something that you watch to have under your belt. Or flick it, meaning that it is not worth your time, and you can just ignore it.
Sure.
And then a 1 out of 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, just to gauge it a little bit more for the simpletons. However, there's situations like this, and I think the last one we kind of had the same situation, which was Candyman. If you haven't watched it, came out yesterday. Go listen to it.
Even though it is April 10th.
Don't even reveal it.
Oops.
Here's the thing. I'm going to start.
Sure.
I'm going to start with my number, too.
So
real big build-up.
So to continue the build-up, Vox never tells. We don't discuss the ratings and whatever, but I wanted to know immediately after, because obviously this is a very interesting experience.
Well, this movie means a lot to you as well, so
I would say so. Yeah, I definitely.
You made that very clear.
Yeah, and so I just wanted a little taste, dip the toe in on how you were feeling. And Vox said almost verbatim, "You are going to be appalled at what I rate this."
Yes.
And I cannot wait.
So
let's have you go last. Tosh, what would you give this movie?
I'm torn. I'm if I could give it a 6.5, I would.
Sure.
I'm torn between a 6 and a 7.
Okay.
Because as cheesy as it was, I just felt like it was good for the time that it came out, and I enjoyed the twist, and I just pretty much I enjoyed the entire movie. So
Sure. Pick.
yeah, definitely pick it.
So I would also give it a big fat pick. It is a very interesting time capsule of not only where we were with the slasher genre, which it's classified as a slasher, but people don't really get cut up as much. It's more creative with
the shower
kills
scene was
sure. If I had to put it somewhere, it'd be a slasher, but it's almost just more of a general horror movie, I guess. But it was a nice time capsule of what happened, how it came out. It had excellent music that I think is so awesome, just how over the top it is. The acting is abysmal, but it makes up for it with some of the funniest dialogue that's ever been put to film. And I don't give a shit what Vox is going to come out and say.
You're fine.
It's incredible.
We're all entitled to our own
there's
opinion.
there's one part where one of the camp counselors addresses the kids, and he goes, "All right, gangstas," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" And I just love
That's during the capture the flag scene.
I just love that.
Well, because
I love that.
It's almost like a sketch, because they say all this nonsensical shit, but they never it's never like a Deadpool where they're like, "Isn't it funny that we said fuck a baby or whatever?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I love this movie. It's one of my favorite slashers. It's one of my favorite contributions to the extensive library of crazy 80s horror movies. And I'd give this an 8.
Whoa.
That's right.
An 8 out of 10.
That's right.
Holy shit.
In my heart, it's a 10.
So, I want a couple of things here. Number one, the shower scene that we just mentioned as being the only slasher-esque scene is the most disappointing scene, because we don't even get a tasteful titty of the only attractive person.
You're out here talking about child pornography.
She's
and now you're
25.
Out here, I'm just kidding.
She's 25. She's a counselor.
Yeah, she's at least over 21.
Yeah,
and I don't know
and she
for
was the
sure.
most attractive woman on this set.
Sure.
So, and I'm saying woman because we know she's older. That's the only thing I'm saying. It was a little bit disappointing. I was hoping for
this movie. You have to tread lightly.
Yeah,
with your.
I was hoping that there was gonna be like an X-rated psycho scene where the curtain gets pulled back. She screams, but you see a titty.
You can't go full Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I know. So here's why I went real specific with our ratings in explaining that. Because this is going to get a pick from me.
Oh.
Because this movie redeemed itself on multiple qualities, all of which you guys mentioned. Mm-hmm. I won't even deny that the score is fucking ridiculous, but it's great to listen to.
Yeah.
The twist at the end single-handedly inspired like the next 25 years of Munchausen-esque plot lines that we got. Yeah. Because please tell me a movie before this that had the same exact thing. We get The Exorcist,
Psycho.
Right? But Psycho wasn't like, it wasn't this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I don't think anything's like this.
I mean, we just recently had the movie a couple years ago that had Sarah Paulson in it that was Run. Where like she is permanently dosing her fucking daughter to be in a wheelchair.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So kind of the same exact like premise where like the mom is like.
Well, that was also there was one, The Act with
that was a real life story.
That was a real story too. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but it's still
But you're right.
It's
been done.
Sure.
Prior to this in movies. So again, there's that.
Well, that's the other thing. Before to put a pin in that is that something I'm really excited to talk about in my Seed of Chucky video is obviously it has the same sort of identity crisis sort of theming.
Yeah.
But that's what's great about horror movies for me is that every walk of life, every story, every situation, every type of life you could have lived, horror movies have always been a great way to express that without like pointing and making fun of it, which is what that's why I love horror movies so much.
You're not wrong.
You can see something like Candyman, which has a lot of, gender and race and all of these different themes, but it's never like making a mockery of it.
Yeah.
It always treats it with a level of seriousness that I respect.
Yeah,
and that's
true.
That's what I like.
And I think that's probably a really fair assessment of why I would say that this is a pick for me, because it is worth watching. Mm-hmm. It's not a good movie. I don't like hardly anything that's in this movie. However, it's worth a watch, for the same reason that yesterday I said, let's pick Candyman. We disagreed. Tasha and I both disagreed with the way that the plot went at the end. However, it was still worth watching. Yeah. So with that all being said, to contradict Luke's 8, I'm going to give this a 4.
Okay.
A big 4 out of 10.
I was thinking like a 1 or 2.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
No, it wasn't that
Which
bad.
is
well,
fair.
I guess I have to counteract your 4, so I'll bump my 6 to a 7.
A whopper 7, you decided, eh?
Watch out.
So no 6.5
I
here.
haven't rated it on Letterboxd yet.
Neither have I, because
Yeah.
I knew that Luke was prowling, so I was like,
No,
nope.
I try. I the only thing I've done is looked at the list and went through and made sure I rated everything I've seen, which you can also find at Baseman Vo's Letterboxd account for our Halloween Extravaganza 3 list.
That's right.
And if you don't go like it, you're a bitch.
You heard it here first, you bitch.
And last.
Join us tomorrow for just Tosh and I. And yeah, I saw that. Air quotes, sir.
It's fucking April.
Nah, it's not.
You're
it's
not
October 3rd.
Tell them what time when we're doing
no,
this.
it gives us that authentic charm. Shows we've been going
we
hard in the paint.
actually were watching a movie every
day in
in
Halloween.
October.
That's it.
Well, to end this bad boy off, I'll say Sleepaway Camp, and I'll use the tagline the movie has: "You won't be coming home."
Ooh.
Ooh.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.